Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 10 coastal Valentine's Day Dollar Tree DIYs for you. I'm going to start out with some new DIYs I really hope you enjoy. For this DIY, I wanted to use an anchor sign. This is one of the anchor signs from Dollar Tree. I can still find these from time to time in my Dollar Tree. They're part of the shore living line, which we can hope and pray they bring back this year. But it is a pretty easy sign to find. I will post some links in the description. I think I have some saved for other places you can get an anchor sign. And I am going to give it a very light paint job. I just kind of want it to be almost of a stain. I'm using the Cloudless by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to go ahead and paint both sides of the anchor sign. I'm going to make a standalone project with this. And I normally don't like the really thin signs like this, but it's going to be perfect for this project. But you might be able to see the back of it. So I wanted the back of it to be blue too. So I gave that same light stain of the Cloudless by Apple Barrel to both sides of the anchor. Now for the base of it, I wanted a heavy sign. So I'm going to use one of these long signs from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut it down to size, and it can be any sign. This is just one I had left over. It does have writing on it, and so I'm going to cover that up with just some cheap contact paper here for the back. I just make it a little bit larger than I need, peel and stick it on there, and then it's really easy just to take a sanding sponge and right there on the corners, it's going to give you a perfect cut. And that's just going to make the back of your project pretty too, which I always like when I'm trying to reuse something like this from the Dollar Tree. Now, if you have some chunky craft wood, it might work a little bit better. You'll see here in a little bit what I'm talking about with that. But I have this like MDF wood, so I just went ahead and painted it with a little bit of beige paint, and I'm just using a brush so I can let like a little bit of that brown color show through to kind of give me like a faux wood grain with that. I almost want a driftwood color to this, and so this is just beige by Apple Barrel, and I'm just going to go all over that. And I do want it to look a little bit weathered and rough. I do want to be able to put a saying on there to go with my anchor sign, and I wanted to do like an anchor Valentine's Day sign. So that's where we're going with this. And it did have like different color edges, so I just went ahead and painted the sides of it too, trying to cover that up. Basically everything except for the bottom. Now, this is the vinyl that I cut out. I will include a link to the SVG that I designed, a free SVG for you, down in the description of today's video. What it says is Be My Anchor. I cut it out on my Cricut Joy Extra, and it's almost like a bronze color of vinyl that I had, and I think that's going to be perfect. It's almost giving me a brown vibe, and I like that. So I am just going to use some transfer paper, and we're going to go ahead and add the vinyl directly to the sign. I had thought about hand painting this, but I wanted it to be really pretty. And instead of Be My Valentine, I thought Be My Anchor would be really cute for this since we're doing a coastal Valentine's Day DIY. So let's go ahead and center this on the sign and go ahead and apply it. The paper transfer paper is always my favorite. It doesn't damage surfaces, especially like freshly painted surfaces like that. So that looks really cute. Now for the anchor, I want to include a heart on it. I just picked up this little heart wall hanging at the Dollar Tree, and it's like in their home decor section, but I thought the hearts were the perfect size. So I'm going to go ahead and just use one of those. And what I want to do is make it look like a seashell that's shaped like a heart. That's my plan for this one. It did have lots of flowers on it though, so I am going to have to paint that. I went over it with like 3 coats of white paint because I'm going to decoupage over that with a napkin. So of course that's going to be really thin. I didn't want any of the flowers to show through. Now, if you don't have access to like a napkin that looks like a seashell, which we're going to use, I think it would be really easy to paint it too. The shell pattern is really simple. For the sides, I went ahead and did them in beige as well, just because you're going to be able to see the back of the heart too, the way you'll be able to see the back of the anchor, just because it's a standing sign. So I went ahead and painted the sides beige, and I went ahead and painted the back beige too. Doesn't have to be pretty. I just kind of wanted a little bit of tan color back there as well. Now, these are the napkins I'm going to use. I actually got these on Temu. They are seashell napkins, and I thought they would be perfect for this. So I'm going to go ahead and separate the second layer, and then I'm going to kind of just tear one of the shells. That's all I'm going to need. And this is going to be really fun to decoupage this. I think it's going to be perfect for what I'm looking for. And so I just do a very thin coat of Mod Podge all over, and I'm going to simply lay the napkin right on top. Now, if you can't find this napkin, as you can see, the pattern is pretty easy. Like, you could paint it beige, you could do brown stripes up and down, and then just do a little curvy line around, give it that seashell vibe. But I had the napkin, so I thought decoupage would be perfect for this. Once it dried, I went around the edges with a sanding sponge to give me a perfect cut here of my heart. The only tricky part was probably like right there in the middle. So I assisted that with a pair of scissors, but really easy. And I really do like the texture of like a napkin Mod Podged on, but I wanted to seal it just in case I didn't want anything to happen to it. It was so delicate. So once it dried, I went over it with another coat of Mod Podge here to seal it, trying to make sure I don't cause any unnecessary damage or bubbling or anything like that. And then I went back over the vinyl with my original beige color and just lightly distressed it. It gives it just more of like a hand painted vibe than just looking like vinyl, just a very light distress all over. Now for the heart on the anchor, I thought about halfway up would look really cute. So I'm just going to hot glue that on right about here. Perfect combination of two things, coastal and Valentine's Day. I thought it needed some rope, so I'm going to take some Dollar Tree rope. This is the thinner kind, the 9.5 foot. And I'm just going to attach it here to the back of the anchor. And I'm going to wrap it around like twice. And then glue the other end down there as well. I wanted there to be some fun rope touches to it to give it some fun, you know, texture, but also to make it a little bit larger since it is a thinner sign. Whenever you could add things to it, like we added the heart, we're adding the rope to it, it's just going to make it look a little bit better. So I went ahead and did the same thing here on the other side. I just went around with 2 rows of rope. And I think I should do some rope here at the top as well. There's these little side parts here of the anchor. I thought those would be cute with some rope. So I went ahead and started that, and I have room to wrap it around twice up here as well. This time vertically. So I went ahead and did that again, hot gluing everything to the back. You could also do that with just twine, but I really kind of like the rope look. I think it makes it look fun and coastal. And I did the same thing here on the other side, just mirroring it. And then I thought it'd be fun to have like rope here hanging from the anchor. And so I cut a piece long enough that I can like knot it with itself like that to give me a big knot here on the top of it. And I want that to be kind of like a handle hanger there for it. I don't want it to necessarily hang down though and like block the heart and the cute things we added. So I actually want mine to kind of defy gravity and kind of stand up on its own. So I hot glued it to the back where it would stand up on its own, but kind of like tilted over on the side. And I think that looks really cute. Now, I always have to burn off the fuzzies whenever I'm working with a rope project. It always just cleans it up and makes it look so much better. So I just went over all of my rope pieces with a lighter, and I want to be able to attach it to this Be My Anchor sign, like right about here. So I'm going to kind of sketch that on here with a pencil. And my plan is just to make a very thin gap in here with a flathead screwdriver and a hammer. Now, this is the part where I told you you might be better off using real wood and not the MDF because as you can see, the wood is splitting. I will be able to fix that, but if I did this on like a wood project, that would not happen. So that is one disadvantage, but I just wanted to make just a little slit there where I would be able to put that thin Dollar Tree sign in there without having to like attach it to the back or something like that. So once I did that, I had to go back in there with some spackle to fill in the cracks here from where the wood split. Did not like that, but I think we were able to hide it pretty well here with the spackle. And then I'll just go over that with a little bit more of that beige paint and you won't be able to tell. Then I need to attach the anchor to the sign. I added some hot glue right here in that opening and put the anchor right there And I think that looks really cute. Now, the only thing I was concerned about, it is a little bit wobbly. I was hoping that the base would be, strong enough to hold it up, but as you can see, very wobbly. So I don't want it to fall over. So I decided to add a base to it. This is just some craft wood from the Dollar Tree, a thinner piece, and we can make like a flat bottom, and this will make it super stable. So I'm going to cut it down a little bit while I have a border around all four sides. And it's kind of too much new wood. So I'm just going to rough it up a little bit here and make it look like driftwood. I went over it first with the beige paint by Apple Barrel and just giving it a quick stain, using a paper towel to kind of wipe off the excess. I do want some of the wood grain to show through, but again, I do want it to look like driftwood to kind of go with the coastal vibes. So I just went ahead and painted all the surfaces that you're going to be able to see, adding another coat, and then I decided to distress it with some antique wax by Waverly to give it that old weathered look, and a very light dry brush all over, but it definitely did give me that driftwood vibe that I was going for with this one. It was a little rough there on the back. I had to sand it a couple of times. And then I just hot glued this sign to the base, and this solved all my problems. Now I have a really sturdy base. I'm not going to have to worry about it falling over, and it actually looks really cute down there too. And then I thought I would finish it off with just some shells. I have a shell from the beach, and I have a starfish. This is a little starfish that I got on Amazon. I will post a link to that down in the description. I just updated mine with a little bit lighter blue paint, and then we're just going to attach these to the sign. This shell's kind of broken, but I love it, so I'm going to hot glue that on. And then I'll add the starfish to the other side. I just used that same Cloudless by Apple Barrel color there on the starfish. And I just hot glued one to each side. And here it is, our little Be My Anchor sign for Valentine's Day. I think it is really cute, and it's really different than any of the Coastal Valentine's Day stuff that I already have. So I think it's going to look great with my Valentine's Day decor. And I always love to bring a little bit of coastal to every season if I can. Isn't that cute? I really love it. And look out for those anchor signs. You can still find them from time to time. For this DIY, I wanted to do a braided heart wreath. So we're going to start with one of the heart-shaped rings from the Dollar Tree. They come in a 3-pack like this, and I'm going to try to use the larger one. Now, I wanted to do a woven rope, like a braided rope, and not just with 3, we are going to use 6 packages of rope, and we're going to do actually 6 pieces of rope and braid it. Now, this is a technique that I hadn't tried before. I was a little bit scared by trying to braid 6 pieces of rope, but I will take you through the steps, and it was totally worth it. But give yourself some time for sure. It took me about 45 minutes to braid this entire rope. These are the 9.5-foot ropes from the Dollar Tree, the thinner one. And I'm going to take 2 and clamp it down. These clamps from the Dollar Tree, the large ones are perfect for 2 of these. And I'm going to clamp it to a board because I need something to hold it down so I can kind of pull and tug on it because I want to be braiding it, right? I'm going to put the next 2 right next to it, continuing that on, and then finish it off with the other 2 ropes here so I have all 6 of these. Now, I had to go online and learn this braiding technique, and I'm going to try to share it with you. I have all 6 pieces of rope. The first thing you're going to do is split it into 3 and 3. So you have 3 for your right hand, 3 for your left hand, right? You want to try to keep them flat and in order. That is important. Now, let's zoom in. For the first one, we're going to go right, under, and then over. And that's all we're going to do on the right side. That's always what we're going to do on the right side. Now on the left side, instead of going under, we're going to go over. So we go over with the outer one, and then under, and then over the one from the other side, pulling that over to this side. So now we still have 3 on each side, just different ones, right? So let me show you that again. We're going to take the right one, and we're going to go under, over on this side, always under on the right. And then on the left side, we are going to go over. So we go over, under, and then over the one from the other side that's right next to it, right? And then kind of pull it tight like that. We're going to repeat that same braid pattern all the way down the 9.5 foot of rope. Now, Once you get a hang of it, it does go faster, but I definitely took my time because I didn't want to mess up the pattern. I always went under, over on the right, and then I would switch to the left. And you can kind of tell when something's not quite right. It should go over. And so like I had two pieces that were a little bit messed up there to keep that pattern going. And you kind of get the feel for the rope because you're pinching it with one hand and working on the other side. So sometimes you get the ropes out of order a little bit, but it's easy enough to know because if you're going around it the like same direction that the last like it is, like it doesn't really work that way. So I braided it a little bit. Then I was able to, wind it around the board. I probably should have started it farther down. I didn't realize how much I was going to have here braiding this pattern because we're going to do that same exact pattern all the way down the 9.5 foot of rope. Now, I wanted to have extra because I have another plan for the braided rope, but I really didn't need any more. So 6 packages of rope for this really nice sized Valentine's Day wreath, I think is pretty good deal. So I just keep braiding, trying to keep my pattern, always holding it. Now, one thing you will notice, especially when you're using like a long piece of rope like this, when you're braiding, now the tails of that is hanging all the way down to the ground, right? They are going to get tangled and braid themselves too because you're doing all of these crazy things with the rope above it. So from time to time, you will have to take a break. I had to take a break here and unwind the rest of the rope at the bottom so it was all free flowing again. And I had to do that probably like 3 times throughout this process to be able to make it, easier to do. Once the rope gets shorter, it gets to be, of course, a lot easier to do because this rope is really long to braid. I did feel that I got the hang of it, but I did actually say to myself, under, over, and then on the other side, over, under, over every single time I did it so I didn't mess up the pattern. I was like, if I get this whole thing braided and like one part of it looks funky, then I'm going to be upset, but no problems with that. Now, as you can see, I'm using the board to wrap it around. That way I can show the braid, but I also have some way to store the braid as I am making it. And again, I have something heavy holding the braid in place. So this actually worked really well for me. Other things you can do is, attach it to something really heavy. You could try knotting the end, but I didn't want to waste any of the rope. That's one reason why I use the clamps, and it actually worked out pretty well. I had to straighten my rope again right there. So I can make it around like maybe 2 times, and I had to straighten my rope each time. But isn't this pattern of the braid beautiful? I love it. It is a flat braid, so it's going to be perfect for a wreath. And it is definitely like one of the craziest braid patterns that I've done here on my channel. But I absolutely love how it turned out. So I wasn't sure how much I was going to need. So I went ahead and kept braiding until I got all the way to the very end of the rope. It took me, again, about 45 minutes of just braiding. So get comfortable, turn on a Crafty Beach YouTube video or a good song and braid away. I thought this project was really fun. I was definitely intimidated by the braid, but I'm really glad that I did it. And as you can see, we are all the way to the end of the rope. I barely had enough room on that board, right? I braided it as far as I could, and then I'm going to try to tie it off here at the end. Again, I didn't want to waste any of my braid, so I didn't want to do any kind of knots or anything like that. I'm just going to take some twine, tie that around there as tightly as I can, right where the braid ends, and then I'm going to simply wrap that with twine. So I just wrapped it tightly around enough to secure it with the twine and kind of knotted that on itself and attached it with some hot glue here to seal it. That will keep my braid from unwinding. So really important step to, end your braid like that. Now, cutting the rope can be like sawing through them. You're going to want some really sharp scissors or some heavy duty scissors for sure to cut that, but that should be easy enough to hide on my wreath, that like kind of an ending on the rope. And let's go ahead and unwind this. I do want to do the same thing here to the top where I have it clamped. So again, I tied it with some twine as tight as I can get it. And then I'm going to simply wrap that around. I went ahead and removed the clamps and did the same thing I did here on the other side. And it's really important to leave those plastic little tape tips on the end of your rope when you're braiding, because otherwise you will have tons of frayed rope. It's really important to keep that on there, especially on the other end where we were braiding everything. So now I can go ahead and cut all of those off, and I just cut off every rope. I find it easier to cut one rope at a time for sure. And we have it. We have a giant piece of rope here for this heart wreath. Again, we're using the larger one. I had enough. I probably could have done more than one though. And I am going to kind of flatten this out and get started attaching this. I'm just going to simply hot glue this on to the wire wreath form. I am working on a silicone mat, so I don't have to worry about like the hot glue sticking to that. But if you're not, you would probably want to do this opposite with the braid on the bottom and the metal on the top, hot gluing that on. I thought starting and stopping at the very bottom of the heart would be the easiest, and I should be able to go around this top part pretty easily. I'm just hot gluing one section at a time. I want to make sure that my hot glue doesn't set up and trying to keep my braid flat. Isn't it so pretty? I really love it. I have done like braided rope wreaths before and put the different braids together, but I love the fact that this is all one piece. It just looks so high end. Now, when I got to the bottom here, I'm going to have to do the same thing where I close the rope off. So I took some twine here and tied that off. I'm going to do the same thing I did before to start and stop. But I do want to save the rest of my braided rope because I'm going to need that for another project for this wreath. So I went ahead and did two. I tied it off with twine twice here, leaving enough room for me to cut in between those and my braids to stay intact. And then I simply wrapped them and finished that off with hot glue. And now that should stay intact and we can use that for another DIY. And this will also do the same thing, sealing this off here at the bottom. I plan to decorate the very bottom and the left side of the wreath, so it should be easy enough to cover up this area here at the bottom where the rope's not quite as pretty. But doesn't that look so cool? I want to make sure that it's really attached. This wire wreath form is kind of small. So I did go around the entire wreath form again with some hot glue here on the inner part to make sure everything is glued down. Whenever I glue like to rope on like my outdoor wreath projects, it always holds up really well. Even here in Florida, the rope just really sticks with the hot glue really well. And then I just went over with a lighter. I did the inside and then I also did the outer edge, just burning off any of the fuzzies, cleaning up the rope. And since it's so thick, I did the middle of the rope as well, just burning that off. I was really impressed with how this turned out. It was definitely worth all of the hard work. Now I wanted to do some woven rope hearts for the front of it too. So I'm going to use some wood hearts from the Dollar Tree. These do have a word on them, but I think that's okay. Most of it's covered up with a wood sign. And I thought I could use like two pieces of rope to cover these up to do little woven hearts for decoration. So I glued one on. You're going to want to spread these out as much as possible. And this first one, I didn't spread it out a lot, but I was able to spread out the second one to cover the entire heart. And I did go ahead and cut the binding off of it here to make it easier to be able to cut this rope down. Again, it's always easier to cut one rope than cut multiple pieces. It can be really thick. And again, you're going to want some thick scissors. I kind of went back and forth with some newer scissors and my KitchenAid scissors. And then I just kind of glued down the top piece of rope so it doesn't unwind. I'm going to flip it over and cut off the other side just like that. Trying to keep it as close as I can to the wood heart structure. That's not going to be visible at all. It's just giving me the right shape and some structure to be able to attach this to the wreath. So once I got that secured and cut, I'm going to go ahead and set the other piece down. This is what I mean about kind of spreading out the flat rope. It does cover more than you would think. I hot glued this one onto and then cut this off. The only tricky part of the heart was trying to get like down there in the groove there on the top of the heart to be able to get the rope cut as closely as possible. It's going to have a lot of rough edges here, but I plan to frame it out. So I really just wanted the woven rope look, and it definitely gives me that. So I'm glad I did have extra rope braided because I did not know how I was going to pull off the woven look on the hearts themselves. So it worked out perfectly. I just hot glued any loose parts of it down. And then I'm going to take some Dollar Tree rope. This is the thicker rope from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to use that to frame it. You could always use the same rope though. I thought this would be a little bit taller and give me a little bit wider side. I hot glued that all the way around the shape of my heart. This just cleaned it up. It, kind of sealed in all of the rough, raw edges of the braided rope there that were cut, and it gave me that great heart shape. Kind of framed the whole thing out, and I love the fact that it's rope as well. Again, I just burned off any fuzzies on this piece with my lighter, and I thought it would be really fun to do 3 of those woven hearts to go down the side of my wreath. So I'm going to take another wood heart, and I covered it with 2 pieces of rope, just like I did before, and framed it out. So now I have 2 of the woven hearts, and let's go ahead and do 3. I always like to do odd numbers. I did the same thing to that one as well, covering it with 2 pieces of rope and framing it out. Now, what I want to do is have them decorating like the bottom left side of the heart, kind of going down like this. One thing I didn't take into account is that it's going to make it heavier on this side, so I did have to counterweight this. So keep that in mind. If I would have just used rope and not the wood, maybe it wouldn't have been quite as heavy, but it was definitely heavier on this side. But I wanted all of my decoration on this side. So I'm just hot gluing those onto the rope going up here, just kind of seeing where it's going to interact with the heart and putting the hot glue right there in the right spot and gluing that down. Kind of cascading down the side, but leaving room in between for fun things like starfish and seashells. I got these little starfish on Temu. They're almost the right color, but I wanted them to be a little bit more of a bluish green. So I painted mine with this Cloudless by Apple Barrel color. And now they're exactly what I was looking for. And then I want some greenery, and I love this greenery. This is from the Shore Living line. As you can see, I'm almost completely out of it since I didn't have Shore Living last year at Dollar Tree. But I thought these would be perfect because they almost have a little bit of a blue tinge to them, and they definitely look coastal. This was also Shore Living, but kind of a different kind of greenery. I thought the 2 of them together would pair really well, and so I'm just pulling those off, and I'm going to attach those like as decor underneath the seashells and starfish. So I'm going to start right there at the tip of the heart where I did need to cover up where the rope was tied off. And I'm going to glue a couple pieces here, 1 blue, 1 green for a little bit of variety. And then I'm going to attach that little starfish there. These look like real starfish, but they're not. But I love all of the texture on them. And again, I got those on Temu. And then I'm going to build that out a little bit more here to the side, but really this is all that's going to be on the right side of the wreath. I did the same greenery, this time kind of switching up which one was on top and bottom, and then we can add the seashell. This is just a seashell that I found from the beach. I thought it was the perfect size. And I also want to add greenery and shells in between the hearts to give this a coastal feel. Now, if you didn't want to do coastal, you could go another direction and just decorate it with like a pink ribbon or something like that, something really simple. That would work as well. And I just glued greenery and shells here on the way up. I tried to use different seashells. I really need to make a trip to Sanibel soon. That's where I get tons of my shell stash from. And I haven't been there since at least last year. And so I'm going to go ahead and attach more greenery here to the top. Not a lot, just a little bit. And attach the other starfish up here. I thought 2 would be plenty. And then I also wanted to do another shell there. I needed a little bit more greenery. So I'm just going to cut that down and add that to the top as well. And that was super easy, just gluing it directly to the rope. And my last little seashell here, a pretty one here for the top. I think that looks so coastal. I do have 1 piece of greenery left, and I only used 1 on this one, so I went ahead and attached it here between these 2 hearts. And I think it's looking really fun and coastal. Now for the bow, I didn't want to do anything that was going to take away from the great woven rope heart. So I wanted something that you could kind of see through. I'm using this mesh ribbon that I got on Amazon, and I thought this would be perfect for a bow. So I'm just going to pinch a tail, do a very simple bow with one loop on each side, and then I need a tail for the other side. So I just cut that down here a little bit longer than I'm going to need. And I'm going to simply tie that off with some twine. I'm not going to use a zip tie or anything like that. The great thing about this, you don't have to twist it or anything like that. It's the same on both sides. So I just tied that off, trying to make sure that both sides of my bow were fairly even here before I pulled it too tight. Then I double tied it here on the back. I made sure this twine was large enough to be able to tie it to the wreath form, but also to use it as a hanger for the wreath. So I'm going to put it right here in the center of the heart. And again, I'm going to tie that off there first by double tying it, and then I just tied a little knot here at the top for the hanger. I think it's looking so cute and coastal. What do you guys think about my rope wreath so far? I'm going to try to even up my tails here a little bit. I don't want it to be too long. I think that's perfect for my bow. Then I thought it just a few more seashells. I have some of these little tiny seashells from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to add those, a couple places here that I thought maybe I could add like maybe one more shell to carry on that coastal feel. And I think that looks really cute. Now, I thought it was done, but then I kind of tested it and I noticed it was definitely one-sided, weighted on one side. So we're going to have to weight on the other side. What I'm going to use for that is fishing weights. These are great for when you have an uneven wreath. It happens sometimes. You can hide these inside. Now, since this is a flat wreath and I can't really hide them inside, what I'm doing is hot gluing them inside the rope here on the back. This is going to weight it down. You're not going to be able to see it from the front. Now, if I were to sell this wreath or something like that, I probably would go over and cover that with a little bit of burlap so you wouldn't be able to see the weights in there. But this is my own personal wreath, so I don't really care that it's going to have some weights on the back. But I definitely had to add a lot of the fishing weights here to the back to get it to hang even. And now it is level. I think it's perfect. And here it is, my 6-strand woven rope heart wreath for Valentine's Day. Isn't it so pretty? I haven't hung it on my front door yet because I keep wanting to look at it. It's so pretty. I might want it inside my house. I absolutely love the braided rope. It turned out exactly how I wanted. Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Look how close we are to 50,000 subscribers. And I'd really appreciate it if you would hype today's video. This is one of the little burlap 5x7 canvases from the Dollar Tree. I love these. They come in 5x7 or 8x10, which I love because they're standard sizes. So you can use frames like this from the Dollar Tree. This one's like a weathered white sign. I thought that looked really coastal. I just removed the glass and the staples, and I'm gonna reinforce the corners with a dot of hot glue in each corner because when you put the canvas in there, it kind of can stretch or break your frame a little bit. Now, for the heart for Valentine's Day, I'm going to use a wood heart from Dollar Tree just as a stencil and use a white paint pen to kind of sketch out a perfect little heart here on the front of the burlap. And then we're going to use some of my favorite, the Dollar Tree macrame cord in white. And we're going to do a little bit of rope art for a heart for Valentine's Day. The rope looks very coastal, especially against the burlap and with that weathered frame. I just start right here at the very tip of the heart, and I am just gluing straight to my sketch of the paint pen for the first row of the heart. Just kind of doing one section at a time. Make sure to protect your fingers there if you're hot gluing. I like to use the little hot glue finger protectors from Dollar Tree. And just keep that same string going for the next layer of the heart. As you can see, I'm only doing one little section at a time here, however much I can kind of glue down before my hot glue starts to set up a little bit. And I'm trying to keep it as tight as I can.
It would be cute with just an outline of a heart, but I'm going to go ahead and fill mine all the way in. I thought that would look cool. So I just keep following that same heart pattern that we made with the stencil and just keep going until we have a little heart. You get kind of like almost a triangular shape here at the end. But this macrame cord is nice and skinny enough that it's pretty easy to get it exactly where you need it to be. And this is one of the little cake decorating tools from the Dollar Tree. You guys ask me a lot what that is. It works great for hot glue, these little tools. I like to pick those up as well. I go all the way to the very center, trying to fill the whole thing up with rope, but I also don't want like any exposed hot glue if I can help it, because I don't want my macrame cord to look yellow or anything like that. So I try to do as cleanly as possible. And then just kind of burn off any excess glue strings. And now we can put this together. So there's the frame. I'm going to pop it in. Now it is a canvas board, so it's thicker, so it's going to stick out the back. I just do a bead of hot glue on each side, working that in. Again, I reinforced my corners so that it would not break on me. Those Dollar Tree frames can be a little finicky. And then I want mine to stand up, so I saved the back of my frame, and I'm just going to attach that to my burlap canvas with hot glue all the way around. That way I have a stand. And so you can totally use the Dollar Tree frames with the burlap canvases. And I think this turned out really cute. It was very easy to make. And, this doesn't necessarily have to be coastal. This could go with just about any style. I did have a little bit of hot glue that you could see there, so I tried to clean that up a little bit with my heat gun. And this is how my little macrame heart turned out. Super cute. If you wanted to add like a little coastal touch, you could add like a starfish or something on there as well. But I think the rope and the burlap and that distressed frame really gives it that coastal farmhouse vibe that I was looking for. And it was really easy to put that one together. Okay, next DIY, I'm going to take one of just the plain white hearts from the Dollar Tree that looks like slatted wood, and then one of the little shore living mermaid tails. Those come in a 3-pack, so they're such a great deal for $1.25. And I always try to have extra so that I can use them year round. Now, I don't really want to leave it natural wood. I kind of want to make it more ivory. So I'm just going to go over mine with some antique white. I don't really care about covering up the pattern on there, but it will show through a little bit because I only did one coat. And then I want the boards of the heart to look blue. So I'm going to use my favorite color of apple barrel paint, this cloudless color. And I'm just going to do one coat over the white sign. I chose the white sign because I thought it'd be easier to paint, but I think this also comes in like light pink and red. And it's a smaller heart than what we did for the Driftwood heart. But I love how it turned out. I think it looks really coastal, like little coastal boards. Now for the mermaid tail, I want that to hang down or be across the heart. I thought that'd be really cool. But I thought maybe we could encrust it with like seashells, because like these little seashells from the Dollar Tree kind of look like mermaid scales. So I thought we could kind of get that kind of vibe with these. Now, I was trying to find smaller ones. Mine were a little bit bigger in this bottle, but I'm trying to go through them, and I don't really care what pattern is on them, but I'm just kind of going for size on these and trying to like do them like scales down the mermaid tail. And just like the driftwood, you do kind of need to lay these out in advance so you know what's going to go where. I'm just going to do the tail part. I'll do the fin with something else. Now, you could use hot glue for this. I'm going to use tacky glue just because these shells are really small. I think that's going to be strong enough, but you can use whatever you want. So I do a nice thick coat of the tacky glue. I've used this to encrust like anchors and stuff like that on my coastal wreath and stuff like that, and it held up really well. And so I'm just going to go ahead and then put all of my shells back on here, making sure it has good contact with that tacky glue, and fill up my mermaid tail. Then I thought I could do something a little bit different for the tail, thin there just to kind of make it look a little bit different. So again, I'm going to use the tacky glue. It's nice and thick. Do a nice thick layer here at the bottom. And then I'm going to use these really tiny little shells. Again, I'm trying not to use the gray. I'm just kind of using like the tan. It's going to be kind of in the same color family as the ones before. And we are just going to go all over, kind of encrusting it. Anywhere that one will fit, I'm going to try to put one down in that tacky glue to glue that on. And it gave it a really cool look. I'm always looking for fun ways to do a mermaid tail for, like, the mermaid signs or the mermaid tail signs. There's so many fun ways that you can decorate them. Just a few more pieces. I do have a few more exposed wood pieces here. I want to make sure that I have really good coverage. And it looks like a little fin down there for our mermaid. And you have a little bit more work time when you're working with the tacky glue too. I did go ahead and spray it with some of the spray adhesive from the top too, just to try to make sure it is good and secure. And then I went in with my heat gun and gave it a quick dry. Sometimes it's good to let that sit for a while, but I was kind of in a hurry because I wanted to get more crafting done for you guys. So I was able to dry mine pretty well with a heat gun. Now for the heart, I'm going to go ahead and replace the hanger just with some twine. Again, knotting it in the front. I just find that the Dollar Tree signs always hang flatter against my wall when I hang them like this. And it looks pretty good too. So I just feed that through. I don't want too long of a hanger. It's not too big of a heart. And I absolutely love how this turned out. I kind of had this idea like in my mind, but actually seeing it come together, it turned out so cute. We are going to add a few more details to it as well to kind of give it more of a Valentine's Day vibe. But I do want it to look coastal farmhouse. So I'm going to take just a little bit of antique white here and just distress in one direction to kind of make it look like weathered blue boards from the beach. Just a very light dry brush, and then I'm actually going to hot glue this on. I didn't leave the hanger exposed or anything like that. I thought we could just hot glue it. You could always dangle it down, but I think that way is a little bit easier and have it kind of come down the side of the heart. The blue also kind of looks like the ocean, so that's cool for a mermaid. And then I'm going to use one of the little craft board Be Mine from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree and a couple of their little wood heart stickers. Now, these little craft wood pieces from the Dollar Tree definitely need to be painted. They're made out of kind of a cardboard material, though. I always feel like they might fall apart a little bit when I'm painting them. So I'm doing a nice thin coats of ivory on these. But as you can see, they're definitely flexible. They're cute, but I prefer the wood if I can get it. But I thought this sounded like Valentine's Day, and I found that the Valentine's Day selection at my Dollar Trees right now is a little slim. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the two hearts too. I flipped one around so I could have them going in separate directions and just removed the sticker on the back. And then I'm going to dry them, go over the Be Mine with another coat because, again, that craft board material really soaks in the paint. But I thought that this ivory, like antique white color, would be a nice contrast against the blue boards. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue my Be Mine on right up here to the top right. Kind of have an open spot there in my heart. And then we can just attach the little hearts kind of down, just randomly going down the sides. I know that they're stickers, but I like to hot glue mine on. It makes them a little bit more permanent. And this is how it turned out. Our little Be Mine mermaid tail with like the shell encrusted mermaid tail. I think it turned out really cute, and I think it's going to look really cute with my coastal decor in my home. What do you guys think about this one? I think it's really whimsical and fun, and you can definitely tell it's a Valentine's Day decoration. Okay, up next, we're going to DIY one of these little wood hearts from the Dollar Tree. This is one of the slatted ones. What I'm going to do is I want to make this a driftwood heart for Valentine's Day, but I'm going to kind of leave the slats open. And so I'm just staining those all with some antique wax by Waverly to kind of give them a finish to start with because it's easier to get to them at that point. Now I'm going to use driftwood and I'm just going to cover like the individual slats of the heart with driftwood. And I am using the driftwood vase filler. I get this at Target. It's normally like $10 a box. It's a vase filler, so it's like back in that kind of department. At my Target is always on end stand, but it does go on sale from time to time. So I always try to stock up on this driftwood when it goes on sale because it's great to craft with. It's really flat. The pieces are really easy to glue together like that. So you can kind of see I kind of had to, kind of do a pattern around the bottom just to fill that all the way in. But when you get to like the different like slats of it like this, it gets a little bit easier because you're just going straight across. And like I always say with these driftwood projects, it's just like putting together a puzzle. If one piece isn't going to work, you pick up another one and try it. And you just keep building and building until it's all filled in. I love making driftwood projects. They turn out so cute. And this is probably my favorite driftwood to work with. I have bought it from Amazon before. I do have some listed in my shop. You just don't get very many pieces with that. And it's usually kind of more of a rounded driftwood I have found. I really liked working with this flatter driftwood from Target. Now, this top part is going to be a little bit more challenging trying to do that shape, but you have all different shapes and sizes of these, so you can just keep playing around with it until it works. And I'm just attaching all of them with hot glue. If I have to overlap it a little bit with the piece next to it, I totally do. I will just glue those together. But basically, I'm just trying to cover as much of this wood heart as I can with the driftwood. Now, as you can see, that stain that I did on the back slats, is a lot darker than the driftwood. And that's the only thing I don't really like about the driftwood is that it's very light. But the great thing is that it's really easy to stain. So I'm just using a chunky brush from the Dollar Tree and some more antique wax by Waverly and going all over this heart. And it really brings out the character in that wood and makes it look really fun for like a driftwood project. Most of my driftwood projects that I have bought are more kind of this color of a driftwood instead of that really light driftwood. And I kind of wanted to stain it a little bit because I kind of wanted to build out on this a little bit. I kind of wanted it to have a little bit of a darker background. So while it's here, I'm going to go ahead and make a hanger. I'm just going to take some twine, some of that thick twine, and tie a knot. And I'm just going to attach that to the back here. And it's thick enough right here that I can just use a staple because we have all of that driftwood thickness as well. Now I thought I would decorate it. So I'm pulling out some of my collection. This is a starfish and a sand dollar that I got on Amazon. You can totally use the ones from a Dollar Tree as well. And I'm going to do some seashells as well just to kind of decorate it a little bit. Just bring a little bit of fun to each tier of that little driftwood heart. I'm just kind of moving them around, seeing where I like them. I like the size of those sand dollars. They're a little bit smaller than the ones from the Dollar Tree, but just kind of playing around with it until I get it the way that I like it. I kind of like using the ivory colors all together. It's a nice contrast against that darker driftwood. Just going to finish it off here with another seashell. Look how cute that looks. I think this is really fun for Valentine's Day and really unexpected. And this is how our little driftwood slatted heart turned out from the Dollar Tree.
Now, finding driftwood could be your hardest part on this. I've always purchased it from Target, but I've had trouble getting it from there lately. But this is another version of the driftwood heart for Valentine's Day, and I really love how it turned out.
One of the little chunky love signs from the Dollar Tree. It's actually a hanging sign, but it's definitely thick enough to kind of stand on its own, which is what I'm going to use it for. So I'm just going to remove the twine from the back. I don't really care about the staples back there. And I want to make this look like the beach. So I picked out lots of blues. These are the colors that I used for this. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to do a beach scene. Trust me, like anybody can do it. Basically, when you look out to the ocean, you're going to have like a sky, and then you're going to have lots of different shades of blue. So that's what we're going to go for. So I start with like this blue cotton color, kind of reminded me of a sky color. And I'm going to do it like on the right side. And I'm going to kind of have the beach curving in from the left. So I don't want to go all the way across with my band of the sky, but I want to cover like at least 3 letters with it. Then I'm going to go in with like a more turquoise color, do a band of that. And I'm even using like the same paintbrush. I'm just wiping it off with a baby wipe in between coats because a lot of these coats are kind of similar in shade. It's not really going to mess anything up. And I want it to be all kind of blended together anyway, so that's going to work. This color is the Caribbean blue from Delta. And we're going to do that too, kind of swirling it up to the left there so we have room for a beach over there. Now I'm going to try to do like a wet look on this. And so you could do acrylic on this. It'd be really cool, but I'm going to kind of show you a way you can do it without acrylic. The final color I use here is Cloudless. And it's kind of my softest blue color. And I am just going to blend that in. And in between the different shades of blue, just blend it together. You can always go back and add a few more different colors of blue if you want to add like just a little bit of variation in the color and see how easy that is. I was thinking about painting the left side tan, but it's already wood. I want to add sand to it in the future, so I think that's going to be fine. It's going to blend in about the same color as the sand. Then I'm just going to go in with a finger sander, not necessarily for paint, but these signs aren't always cut perfectly and they kind of have like little splinters on them. So I'm just going to kind of clean mine up a little bit here with a finger sander. And I think that looks pretty good. Now for the heart part, I thought it'd be cute to kind of cover it up with one of the Dollar Tree sand dollars. These are the sand dollars from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. It's going to be here before you know it, guys. It comes out every spring at Dollar Tree, and I can't wait for the Shore Living line to come back. It is my time of year. So I want to go ahead and make sure it's secure. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it down with some hot glue first before we attach sand to the sign to make it look like a little beach. And I think that looks really cool. It definitely gives it a nice coastal feel. And then I'm going to go in with some tan Dollar Tree sand and just some school glue. I'm just going to do a layer of school glue all over the L, part of the O, and just kind of flatten that out with a paintbrush to give myself a nice even coat of school glue. You could also use Mod Podge for this if you don't have any school glue. And then I'm just going to sprinkle Dollar Tree sand all over those areas. A nice thick coat, but not too thick. And then I'm going to spray it with some of the spray glue. I get this at Dollar Tree. It's a little hit or miss at Dollar Tree being able to find it, but I love it because you can kind of glue from the top. Because once you have your coat of sand on there, sometimes you need just a little bit more glue to help hold everything down. And the glue under and the glue on top really, I think, helps for that. I'm going to carefully go in there and start the drying process on that. I also want to make sure I don't really have like any sand stuck to the sides of the letters. So I'm just going to clean that up a bit as well. And I'm also going to do like some seashells and stuff like over on the L. I think that'd be really cool. But for right now, I'm just trying to make sure that that sand is stuck down. So I did do another coat of the spray glue and dried that. Now for the seashells, I wanted like little tiny seashells. So these are the Dollar Tree seashells that come in the little glass bottles. And I'm trying to find like the smallest ones I can, but I also like want a variety. So I'm thinking tiny, and I'm trying to decide like what kind of shells I want, how many I want. I also get some little tiny starfish on Amazon. I have those posted in my shop. That's what you see there. And I'm going to mix one or two of those in there as well. I think that looks pretty cool. And I was trying to decide if I wanted just like 3 here in the left corner. I do end up adding more. Now, the trick to get these to stick is to use hot glue and then push it down through the sand. So my sand's not totally dry, it's still a little malleable. And because you want to glue to the sign behind it, not the sand. Because if you just glue it to the sand, it is going to fall off. And then I decided to kind of continue that theme all the way up, just using more tiny shells and starfish, trying to just make it look really random, like little shells on the beach. And they're a lot smaller than the sand dollar, but I think it looks pretty cool. So I am digging how that looks, but I do want to give it that wet, glossy look we talked about. And I didn't really want to use acrylic today, so I am going to try some spray lacquer that I had from Rust-Oleum, and to make it shiny. It's the only thing I had that was super glossy, and this definitely makes it look wet, which is what I was looking for. And it was pretty easy to do. So I just sprayed that on there, gave it a quick dry, and this is how it turned out. Pretty cool, huh? I loved making these DIYs today. I think they turned out really fun. Here is like a little close-up view of my love word. And we have lots more with this coastal beach theme. Really fun for Valentine's Day. It can go with your coastal decor. You can mix it up with kind of a new theme for Valentine's Day. I'm going to use one of these little pink hearts. I just got one of those the other day from the Dollar Tree with the glitter all over it. One of the wood hearts from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to use one of these pieces of removable wallpaper in my favorite pattern, the tropical leaf pattern. So I wanted to do something really fun with these hearts, so you will see how they turn out. So I'm just going to go ahead and just use the heart as a template to draw that out on the back of the wallpaper. And I'm simply gonna cut this out. Have you guys worked with this wallpaper before? I love it. I've used it on so many DIYs for every single season, and it's just so beautiful. Look how pretty that is. I think that'd be really pretty if you were actually to cover a wall with it as well. So it's just a giant sticker now, so we're just gonna peel and stick that onto the little heart, the wood heart that we have. And I love those. Those pieces are so easy to DIY with. I just got a couple more of those. Now I'm going to sand around the edges to make sure that I got perfect cut. And then I wanted to frame it out with some twine. This is the thicker twine that you get at Walmart. It's a little thicker than the twine that you get at the Dollar Tree. But I just wanted like a very simple rope border to go around this sign. And so I'm just going to use hot glue, and we're just going to glue this all the way around. So what I was thinking with this is I wanted something like really tropical, really coastal, but for Valentine's Day. And I think this turned out so fun. So that looks pretty good. We have a great back piece for the little heart. And I'm just going to poke holes so we can go ahead and reattach the hanger that came with it. And easy peasy, that's so much easier than painting it, right? And so I thought this heart could go on there, but I wanted to do something really fun with it. So I'm just going to remove the hanger, and I'm going to use some of this pink burlap that I got at the Dollar Tree. And I thought that we can make these hearts look like flamingos, like two flamingo necks and like their little flamingo beaks like touching each other, like almost like kissing. And so I'm just simply wrapping the glitter with the pink burlap, and it's going to just tone down that pink glitter. And this is like a kind of a perfect color, I think, for a flamingo. You can kind of still see a little bit of glitz and glam through the fabric, but that's okay. I think it toned it down a lot. So just went all the way around like that with the burlap until it's covered like this. That looks pretty cute like that, right? But I thought we could make this into flamingos. So to do that, I'm going to start with some chalk paint. This is the color ink. You don't have to use chalk paint, but it does work really well for coverage on fabric. And then I'm just going to start painting like where the beaks would be of the flamingos, and just kind of judging how big each one should be so they're kind of like uniform. And can you already kind of see it where it's like two flamingos like kissing? I thought that was a really fun idea. It's not what I had originally planned to do with this heart, but I was so glad I came up with this idea. Now I'm going to paint this part of the beak white. And that's going to kind of simulate like the way that a beak looks on a flamingo. And this is just like ivory paint, and I'm just going to do that on both sides. And then I was trying to think how I could do eyes for these flamingos. I thought about using like googly eyes or something like that, but I thought that would look, kind of childlike and cartoonish. And I had some of these little wood half beads, and I thought they'd be perfect because if you have them upside down, it's going to give you a very like flat eyeball look, which is kind of like what a flamingo has. So I'm just going to paint the back of those little wood rounds, half beads. And then once I get them painted like an ivory color, I'm just going to draw like a very simple like pupil on there with just a black Sharpie. And I think this gave it a little bit more of an elegant look compared to like a googly eye. And so I'm just going to attach those with hot glue, kind of where I think they would go on a flamingo. And we have two little kissing flamingos for Valentine's Day. Isn't that fun? I love this idea. So I'm going to attach it to the heart sign that we made. That's going to be the background. And so I'm just going to go all over the back of it with hot glue. It is foam, but since I have the burlap on there now, it's not going to cause any problems with the foam. And I'm going to glue that down to the heart. Now, I wanted to make it a little bit more substantial. I thought that the Dollar Tree sign was a little thin, and so I'm actually going to build it out a little bit more. Now, this is just a thrift flip sign that I found at Goodwill, and it had a great frame, but I just kind of wanted to cover the background. And so I am just creasing it out with some more of that removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree, and that way I'll know where to cut. And I can get a pretty good estimate of what I can use to cover that. And this is just like the white board. I did cut it a little thinner than I wanted, but that's okay because I can always kind of patch it together here with a piece that was left over. And it was kind of a busy sign, and so this is just a quick, easy way to cover that up without painting it. So I'm just going to peel and stick. I kind of like the color that the frame already is. It's kind of like a bluish green color. And so I think that's going to make a fun background. And building this out on that, I'm just going to attach it to the frames with some hot glue on both sides. It's just going to make the piece a little bit more substantial because I really hate the thin Dollar Tree signs sometimes. I usually like to layer them. And so this is how it turned out, our little kissing flamingo heart. I think it's so fun. One of my very favorites. And we just spotted a wild flamingo in Grand Turk on our Christmas cruise. We were buzzing down the highway in a golf cart, and my son spotted one. So we had to pull over and take some photos. It was such a fun find. This DIY turned out so cute. So another tinsel project from the Dollar Tree. It's the XOXO sign, and it's covered in this like sparkly tinsel stuff that Dollar Tree loves to cover their products in. But we're just going to go ahead and take all of that off, and it's going to give us a great cage to make our own little XOXO sign. So basically, it's pretty easy to unwind these. They have all the little tabs. You can just take them off. If it gets too difficult at any point, you can just go in there with your scissors and kind of cut it off. And I thought we could do something really kind of coastal and fun with this instead of that tinsel. So pro tip is these little lint rollers from the Dollar Tree work great at picking up that tinsel and glitter. Now, I was afraid that all the little pegs that were sticking out from holding all that tinsel on were going to interfere with our project. So I'm just using some heavy-duty scissors, the little KitchenAid scissors, and I'm just going to go in and trim all those pegs off just so I don't have to worry about trying to cover them in the final project. And as you can see, There are like tons of them. But they do cut off pretty easily if you have a pair of heavy-duty scissors. Now we're going to use the thick nautical rope cotton from the Dollar Tree. This is the 6-foot one, so this is the thick, chunky white. And I thought we could cover the letters with a rope and do some rope letters. So I find that my fabric scissors cut through that thick rope better than my strong scissors, actually. And I'm just going to cut out 2 pieces to cover up all the letters, and then I'm going to double that up because we have 2 X's, and so we can kind of make a copy of the first one. It definitely needs 2 pieces of the thick, chunky rope, though, to cover that because it's a pretty large letter on the sign. And then just going to hot glue the rope to the cage, and we have a perfect little X or an XOXO sign. This was really fun to put together and really easy. You just got to make sure that you don't burn yourself with your hot glue. I say that, yet you know I do it all the time, right? So we got both of our X's, so now we can start working on our O's. And same thing, it's about 2 rope thickness to cover up the XOXO. And you know, they have other words as well. I think they have one that says love. So you could do love as well, basically the same exact way. And I'm just kind of having the beginning and ending of the O kind of meet up at the bottom. Doesn't have to look perfect, and those rope edges can actually give you a little bit more character to a project, but I'm not trying to overdo the distress on those. So just a double loop of rope on both O. Now, once you hot glue that much stuff down to that cage, you do kind of have some craziness going on in the back. So I'm just cleaning up all the excess hot glue with some heat. And then this is the 9.5-foot decorative nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. I thought it'd be fun to do the contrasting brown color and a thinner rope like this to cover up these little pieces that connect the X and O's together. And just to kind of act as a bridge between the 2 different kinds of rope and the different letters. If you didn't want to do this, you could always just cut the letters apart, but I wanted them to all be one piece like this because it would make the piece easier to hang on my wall for Valentine's Day. So I just start out by hot gluing that to the back, twisting it around a couple times to cover up that connection, and then cutting it and gluing it to the back as well. Easy peasy, and we're going to do that 6 times, all the times that the letters are connected. And I like the 2 different ropes together. I think it provides definitely a nice contrast. It definitely goes with the vibe of the rope letters. So there we have XOXO. It's looking really cute. And I'm just going to go ahead and use some twine to make a hanger. Kind of pushing that out of the way so I can reattach a hanger at this point. And I'm just going to tie that twine off to make a simple hanger. Now, you could stop at this step because it is super cute. I'm going to take it another step and decorate it a little bit more, and you'll see that here in just a second. I was trying to think of ways I wanted to kind of cover like the back of the O's with like fishnet or something like that. But you know, that fishnet from the Dollar Tree has got like the really thick, wide openings in it. So I wanted a smaller fishnet. So I'm going to use one of these little ombre tote bags from the Dollar Tree. And this one has like the ivory and then it like ombres into pink. And I thought the pink would be perfect for Valentine's Day. We could do like a little pink fishing net for the back of the letters. So I'm just going to kind of cut the fabric in 2, right where the ombre like changes from like ivory to pink, to give myself a nice piece of pink material that looks like fishing net, I think. I think this makes a great fishing net. And I thought we could use that to cover the back of the O's. It's going to give us a pop of color. It's definitely going to go with the coastal feel of this DIY. So I'm cutting it a little bit bigger than I need it to be. And then I'm just going to stretch it out, hot gluing it to the back of the piece. And this worked out perfectly. I was so glad that I thought to do this. I love working with these little ombre tote bags. If you see them at your Dollar Tree, be sure to pick them up if you do a lot of coastal DIYs, because I use both parts. I like to use the pink ones, and I like to use the ivory part as well. And it's just a cheap, inexpensive way to get some fishnet for a DIY. So I'm going to do the same thing here on the other letter. Kind of cutting it to size as I go about, gluing it on. I don't want so much fabric that you're going to be able to see it on the outsides of the letters, but I want enough that I can stretch it out and glue it down and kind of give myself a nice netting to the back of the O's. And isn't that cute? I love it. I think it's so fun. I wanted to do one more touch, and so I'm going to use some of these little DIY wood stickers from the Dollar Tree just to add another pop of color, and I'm just going to attach those with hot glue to the X's, the pink ones, just for another little punch of pink and another little texture for our little coastal XOXO sign. And this is the final project. I think it looks so cute. Now, I did want the color a little softer on the heart, so I did lighten that up a little bit with that terracotta color. And this is how it looks hanging on my wall for Valentine's Day.
I love all the little extra details like the netting and stuff like that. But if you can't find the netting, I think it would be just as cute with the rope. I really like the two-tone, using the two different colors of rope together on this one. And I've actually hung this up for the last couple of years here for my coastal Valentine's Day decor. Now, the next DIY I wanted to make some Valentine's Day coasters. So again, I'm going to use a wood heart from the Dollar Tree, and this is the thinner white rope. This is the 11-foot white rope, and I thought the thinner white rope would be easier for this DIY. I'm going to start with just a piece of white felt that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I am just going to use a Sharpie and sketch out two heart shapes on there. That way the back of my coasters have a nice felt surface, and it's going to be something that I can use to attach the rope to it. And then I'm just going to cut this out. I want it to be a perfect heart shape, so I don't really care if I'm including the marker line. That will be on the side with the rope anyway, so you won't be able to see it in the end. And I just cut out two. I'm only going to do two coasters. I'm doing these for my coffee table, and I think I only need to do two. There's only two of us around here now. Empty nesters. And then this is the Dollar Tree rope. Again, this is the skinnier one. I find that this one's a little bit harder to find than the 6-foot, because I went through my huge rope stash and I didn't have very much of this. Now I am going to start with the end of the rope being at the very tip of the heart, hot gluing that down. I'm also overlapping the edge of the heart just a little bit so that you won't be able to see the felt in the finished project. And it's kind of the same construction as the macrame heart, because once we make it all the way around the heart like this, we're just going to keep it going. One piece, less loose ends, and just gluing one section at a time, we're going to fill out the heart. Now I cut like both of the hearts the same size, but you know, anytime you're hand making something like this, they actually turned out differently. And I kind of like that. I like that the hearts are shaped a little bit differently. It makes them look more random. Here at the end, I tried to make sure I cover all of it, and I kind of glue down the very tip, trying to make it look as clean as possible, and try to kind of glue together any gaps in the rope there, because the center part can be a little bit tricky. And we have one little rope coaster for Valentine's Day. Definitely coastal, very sweet, and very easy to DIY. I do put a little glue here on the end so that it doesn't fray the very end of the rope and kind of keeps it all together in one piece. Super cute. I'm going to use that same piece of rope to do our second one the same way. Again, I'm going to start at the end, and I did it exactly the same, but again, you know, the felt kind of stretches, the rope kind of stretches, so you kind of get a little bit of a different look, even though you did it the same way.
So again, just continuing that, kind of gluing one section at a time. You can kind of go a little bit crazy on this and do like half the heart at once. And then I think this is what probably made it look a little bit different. Maybe how I did the last piece and how it kind of all came together. But like the first one was kind of like a tall heart, and this one's kind of like a wider heart. But again, I kind of like that. I again glue the loose edges of the rope to make sure that they don't fray and that they look as nice as possible so that I can display these for Valentine's Day. I think these will work well for coffee cups or whatever I want to sit on my coffee table. And I really like how they turned out. I've always wanted to do a rope coaster, and I don't think I ever have. See the difference in shape? Slight difference. They have the felt back. You could do that in any color you want. And if you wanted, you could even do like the brown rope color for these. That would look really cute as well. And this is how they turned out, our little rope coasters for Valentine's Day. These would make a great gift as well. You could do like a whole set of them, tie them together with some red ribbon, be a super cute gift that anybody would enjoy. This one is a sign that I got at the Dollar Tree. It says sisters before misters. I'm just going to go with it because I really like the little blue frame. It's got like this foam heart on it. So I'm going to kind of try to remove as much of that as I can without causing any damage. Because I kind of like the burlap that's on there, the brown burlap. I think this is going to look really kind of coastal and fun with my decor with that blue faux wood with that like sparkly burlap on there. And then I plan to cover up like the sisters before misters. And then this is just another sign that I got at the thrift store. It's the perfect size for this. And it's kind of cute because it was actually a seashell sign, but we're going to make this extra special. Now, instead of painting it, I'm going to use some more of that removable wallpaper. You guys know I love this stuff. And I'm going to use just like the white board pattern. Just such a quick, easy way to cover a sign like this. And you don't even have to wait for your paint to dry. So I just went ahead and put it on there, and I'm just going to cut it with my sanding block. It's going to give me the perfect cut there along the bottom of the sign. Now, it was a little too skinny to cover the entire sign, so I am going to have to use a second piece and kind of fill in the gap here on the side. And I actually had like a scrap piece where I can line up the board just right. So once I have like the next board that would be repeating in the pattern, I'm just going to go ahead and attach that to the sign. And then again, using my sanding block to cut that off. And this is going to give us a great background for that skinny Dollar Tree sign to make a very substantial piece, and you don't have like a skinny sign hanging on your wall. Just finishing up the sanding on that. Now, I did want to distress it a little bit, and I wanted to take care of these black sides. So I'm just going to use some acrylic paint, and we're going to go all around the edges just because I thought the black was a little bit too much of a contrast for what we're going for on this sign. And I kind of want it to match the wallpaper on the sides. And then I thought it would be good to like distress, with like a chunky brush, just to kind of, make the boards look a little softer, kind of give it more of a coastal weathered beachy touch, just using a baby wipe to wipe off the excess. Now I was trying to get the glitter off of this, which you know how they are with glitter. I tried. But I'm just going to go ahead and start painting over this where it says sisters before misters. And I'm just going over it with some white paint, trying to get as much coverage over the writing as possible because I kind of wanted to make my own sign on this, but I loved the blue faux wood on there and the burlap, so I kind of wanted to save those parts and just replace this middle part. If you had another like wood heart that was this size, you could totally just keep layering signs. But I didn't really have anything that size, so we're just going to make it look better with paint. So once I have like a good outline, I can go in with that white paint and just fill in the inside of our heart. And this is kind of going to give me a blank canvas to help me cover up all of that writing. Now, this is some paint I'm using from Target. It's called Terracotta Pot. And I think it's a beautiful color. Look how pretty this is. I think it almost looks like a salmon color, and I think it looks great with the blue. So I'm going to go over where I just painted it white, my blank canvas, and we're going to paint this heart pink. And I love using like traditional like Valentine's Day colors, like pink and stuff like that, mixed together with my coastal blues. So once I have it outlined, I can just go ahead and fill in. This is a chalky acrylic that I got at Target. I'm just trying to go for maximum coverage to cover up all that glitter that was underneath of it. Now I'm going to use some of this twine from the Dollar Tree, but it's a little gnarly in some places, and so I like to go over it with a lighter first to burn off all the fuzzies and any of like the extra parts that are sticking out. And I thought we could use that twine to actually spell out our word on here. And I wanted to do like a cursive love. So I'm just going to kind of start here with the top of the loop for the L, and we're going to do like some rope lettering. So using hot glue, I'm just going to kind of loop that like on top, like a fancy L. We're going to bring it down, and then we're going to loop it back the other direction, kind of like a cursive L, just kind of working one piece at a time. And this was actually easier to do than I expected. So I'm going to go up and around to start an O. And then we're going to kind of like do a little fancy loop across the O to come over, and we're going to spell out the word love like this. I thought this was really fun, and I like the different textures. I think it looks great with my decor, and it's just kind of unexpected. It makes this Dollar Tree sign look so much more high end. So love was actually a pretty easy word to spell out in cursive here. Just finishing up the E. And I want to kind of make it go all the way to the outside of the heart, kind of like I did at the beginning of the word. Then I needed to kind of cover up this place that had the little flower on there before. So I'm just going to use a starfish. And then we can attach our little heart sign from the Dollar Tree. I'm just using hot glue to attach it to our thrifted sign. And I think they look really nice together. I thought we could use that same twine that we spelled out the word love with to actually do the rope border around this. It's going to give me a really thin rope border, but it's going to finish up that seam in between the heart and the sign on the bottom. And I'm just hot gluing that all around. I thought that was another fun touch on this project. Again, that twine from the Walmart, I love it because I love the thickness of it, but you definitely have to clean it up from time to time. Continuing to use hot glue all the way around. You could always use the thin Dollar Tree rope to border that out as well. But super cute. I hope they have these same exact hearts again this year. I haven't seen them yet. But then again, they only have a little bit of the Dollar Tree Valentine stuff out at some stores. Now I'm going to make a simple little expo here for the top, just using some of that Dollar Tree burlap. I just cut it in half to make two little thinner strips. And we're just going to do a really simple expo. I got some pink ribbon from the Dollar Tree. This is just kind of like a sheer. And then I got some of this XO ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to have to show you on my Valentine's Day haul. I got so many great Valentine ribbons. So excited to craft with all of them. So we're just going to do a simple expo, layering all those together and then tying that off with a zip tie. Such an easy DIY bow to do, and it provides a fun little bow here. And I'm going to kind of put that here on the other side from where we decorated with the starfish on the right side. And then this is from the Dollar Tree as well. It's a little pink burlap rose. It's got a little bit too much going on with the stem and stuff. It's just making it kind of too thick to use the way that I wanted. And so I'm just kind of pulling off the papery part of that so that I can trim it down a little bit so it doesn't stick out as far. I just kind of want the burlap rosette part of it. And once I get it trimmed down, I'm just going to use some hot glue and glue that right in the middle where I have the little zip tie on my expo. And I love the rose for Valentine's Day. I think it gives it a nice little touch. Now, these are some of those laser cut craft board from the Dollar Tree, and these are just from the regular crafters section, and they have these beautiful little ornate hearts with like different cutouts, and I thought that would match really well. The brown is the same as like the rope, and it's going to provide another little Valentine touch right there underneath of our rope love word. And I love how this one turned out. I think it's so fun.
And you might be better off just using a plain heart sign, one of the wooden signs. That way you won't have any texture or anything like that. But I love it. I love the blue. I love the burlap. And I think it was really fun. The love word is really what sets it off. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. Let me know which DIY was your favorite down in the comments below. And I would like to say thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Ginny, Debbie Austin, James Osborne, and Lizette Thomas. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. It means so much. Again, we're so close to 50,000 subscribers. Maybe we will hit it by the time this video comes out. That would be fantastic. And if you'd like more Valentine's Day Dollar Tree DIYs, check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for Valentine's Day.